People ask me, on the rare days I have the strength to go out on the porch, "Sarah, how do you mourn a son who isn't dead?" I never know what to answer. I am 81 years old, and for half of my life, for exactly 40 years, I haven't lived. I have just ... waited. I am a ghost, trapped in my own home, here in Asheville, North Carolina. A house frozen in time, just like my heart. People move on, the seasons change, the leaves on the mountains turn red and fall. But for me, it's always January 15th, 1983. It's always a Sunday. It's always hot, muggy, and the smell of fabric softener is in the air. And I'm always hearing her voice. A soft voice, almost a whisper, so full of false kindness that it chills my soul to this day. "Let me give him a quick bath. Sarah, you look exhausted." I was exhausted. The kind of tired that only single mothers understand. That bone-deep exhaustion. Back then, I was 41. My son, my little Michael, was 7 months old. He was all I had. I carried him while my body ached from age, had him alone, and loved him with a strength I didn't know existed. He was my own private sunshine. And she was Elizabeth Vance. "You can call me Liz," she said, the day the church brought her. Liz was the answer to my prayers, or so I thought. A young, quiet woman with big, sad eyes, who seemed to have a divine gift for calming my baby. Michael, who cried with strangers, would be asleep in her arms in minutes. She had angel's hands. That's what they told me. That Sunday, January 15th, I was in the backyard, with my back to the house. The kitchen radio was playing Every Breath You Take by the Police. I remember thinking how catchy that song was. I was carrying a heavy wicker basket full of sheets and Michael's tiny clothes. The North Carolina sun beat down on the back of my neck. I heard the back door close. "Go hang the clothes, Sarah," Liz said from the porch. "I'll give him a quick bath. When you get back, he'll be clean and smelling sweet for his afternoon nap." I smiled at her, a tired but genuine smile, a smile of gratitude. "Thank you, Liz. You're a blessing," I said. It was the last time I saw my son. I hung the first pillowcase on the line. The smell of laundry soap wafted up, mixing with the neighbor's cut grass. I hung the sheet, then one of Michael's little socks, so small it fit in the palm of my hand. I hummed along with the radio. I can't say how long I was out there. 20 minutes, 30. What caught my attention was the silence. When Liz bathed Michael, the house was full of noise. He loved water. He'd splash his chubby little hands, shriek with joy, throw water everywhere. I always heard his laughter, mixed with Liz's soft voice. What a messy boy. What a happy boy. But right then, nothing. Just the distant hum of the lawnmower and the music on the radio. I took the clothespins out of my apron pocket and threw them back in the basket. "Liz," I called out, wiping the sweat from my forehead with the back of my hand. No answer. I went into the kitchen. The kettle was cold on the stove. "Liz, Michael, are you done?" I walked down the hall. The bathroom door was open. The little blue plastic tub was dry, stored upside down in the corner. No smell of baby powder, no wet towel on the floor. A cold chill started at the nape of my neck and ran down my spine, even in that muggy heat. "Liz," my voice came out sharper. I ran to Michael's room, the crib, empty. The little bear print sheet was stretched perfectly tight. The Planet Mobile I bought with my first paycheck after he was born was motionless. Silence. She must be in her room. I shouted to myself, my heart starting to beat against my ribs like a trapped bird. She must have changed him in there. I ran to the small room at the back of the house where Liz slept. The door was ajar, and that's where my world ended. The bed was made. The small brown suitcase she had brought, which she kept under the bed, was gone. I opened the closet door with trembling hands, empty. The simple dresses, the worn shoes, all gone. I pulled open the dresser drawer, empty. She didn't just go to give him a bath. She didn't just go to her room. She was gone. I stumbled back into Michael's room. My mind refused to accept it. No. I opened his wardrobe. The drawers, clothes were missing. His best ones, the little outfits I bought in case we went to church, the little shoes he'd barely worn, the small folder where I kept his birth certificate and his vaccination card was gone from my drawer. If this story has touched you so far, and if you can feel the desperation of a mother realizing her world is over, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. What comes next is this woman's 40-year journey for answers. I fell. My knees hit the wooden floor. The sound was dull. I didn't scream. Not at first. It was a sound that came from deep in my chest. A low, animalistic howl. The sound of something breaking forever. She took him. She took my son. I ran out into the street, barefoot. The floral cotton dress I was wearing was stained with dirt from the yard. I couldn't see anything. My eyes were blurry with panic. My son, I screamed at Mr. Henderson, who was across the street, pretending to water his roses, but really watching my house, as he always did. She took my son, Liz. She stole my baby. I grabbed the white picket fence of my house so hard, I felt splinters go into my fingers. But I felt no pain. The only pain was a gigantic hole that had opened in my chest. My baby, my Michael, with his smell of milk and powder. His big, curious eyes, his smile that showed his only two bottom teeth, ... He was gone. And there, on January 15th, 1983, my clock stopped working. And for 40 years, all I did was survive the deafening silence of that empty crib. For you to understand the depth of that silence, of that empty crib, you need to understand how Michael came into my life. He wasn't an accident. He was a miracle. A 40-year-old miracle. In 1982, here in Asheville, a 40-year-old woman didn't get pregnant. And if she did, she was certainly married, with a nice house and a respectable husband. I had none of that. I worked the counter at Mr. Albright's pharmacy, downtown. An honest job, but one that barely paid my bills. Michael's father, Mark, was a long-haul truck driver. He had an easy smile and calloused hands. We saw each other between his trips. It wasn't an epic romance. It was the companionship of two lonely adults. When I found out I was pregnant, my first feeling was panic. The second, an unexplainable joy. But when I told Mark on a rainy Tuesday night, he went silent. A silence so heavy it seemed to suck the air out of the small apartment. He stood up, grabbed the crumpled pack of cigarettes from his jacket pocket, and said, "I'm gonna go buy some more. I'll be right back." I waited all night. The cup of coffee I made for him grew cold on the table. He never came back. I found out months later, from another trucker, that Mark already had a wife and 2 kids in Ohio. I was the other woman, the fool. Being a single mother at 40, in 1982, in a town like Asheville, where the church is the center of social life, isn't easy. I became a stain on the town's reputation. People weren't openly cruel. They were worse. They were ... pitiful. I'd hear the whispers when I walked down the aisle at the Piggly Wiggly. Poor thing. At her age. What a shame. The ladies from the church committee, who used to greet me with smiles, now barely looked me in the eye. They prayed for me, not with me. My pregnancy was lonely and difficult. My feet swelled so much I could only wear my late father's old shoes. I had high blood pressure. I worked at Mr. Albright's pharmacy until the day my water broke, right there, behind the medicine counter. The birth was at home. I didn't have money for a hospital. I called a midwife, Mrs. Gable, and after 14 hours of a pain I thought would split me in two, Michael was born. The instant they placed him on my chest, all red and screaming, all the town's judgment, all the shame, all the abandonment from Mark ... It all disappeared. It was just him. His smell, oh, his smell. It was the smell of warm milk, of promise, of new life. I named him Michael, my warrior angel. The first few months were a blur of exhaustion and love. I would nurse him in the dead of night, crying quietly from fatigue. And then he would flash that toothless smile, grab my finger with his tiny hand, and I knew I could do it. But I needed to go back to work. Mr. Albright was kind and held my job, but my savings were gone. I was desperate. That's when Sister Margaret, from the First Street Baptist Church, knocked on my door. She had a stern, but fair, air about her. "Sarah," she said, adjusting her glasses on her nose. "We heard you're in need of help with the boy." I felt my face burn with shame, but I nodded. "We found someone," she continued. "A young woman who came from Knoxville. She's an orphan, raised by the nuns. Has a gift with children. Her name is Elizabeth Vance." The next day, she brought her. Elizabeth, or Liz, was faded. That's the only word. Dull brown hair, pulled back in a tight bun. She wore a simple gray dress that seemed too large for her thin body. She didn't make eye contact. She spoke softly, almost in a whisper. She was 24, but she looked 50 or 15. It was hard to tell. The exact moment she walked in, Michael, who was in my arms, started to fuss, as he always did with strangers. "May I?" Liz asked, holding out her pale hands. Hesitantly, I handed my baby to her. And then, the magic happened. Michael, who fought sleep with me, who thrashed about, simply relaxed. He looked up at Liz's pale face, let out a small sigh, and nestled his head on her shoulder. In less than a minute, he was asleep. I was shocked. Sister Margaret smiled, satisfied. Angel's hands. "Didn't I tell you?" In that moment, I felt a strange pang. Jealousy. My son, who was mine, had surrendered so easily to a stranger. But the relief was greater than the jealousy. I needed her. I hired Liz for a wage that was almost nothing. She didn't even negotiate. She said that caring for the little ones is God's calling. In the weeks that followed, my life changed. The house was always clean. There was hot food on the stove when I got home from the pharmacy. And Michael was always calm, clean, and happy. Liz was perfect, too perfect. She sang hymns to him to put him to sleep. She prayed before eating the simple food I offered. She spoke little of her past, only that she was raised hard in the orphanage in Knoxville and was grateful for a roof over her head. But there was one thing, one moment, one small alarm that went off in my head, which I, out of guilt and convenience, ignored. About a month after she started, Mr. Albright, my boss, called me to the back of the pharmacy. He was a good man, almost a father to me. "Sarah," he said, polishing his glasses, "I have a cousin who lives in Knoxville. Out of curiosity, I called him and asked about that orphanage your nanny mentioned, St. Clara's Home for Children. I felt my stomach turn to ice. And, Mr. Albright said, it turns out that home closed its doors in 1970, 12 years ago. It would be impossible for her to have been raised there recently, as she implied. My blood ran cold. A lie about something so fundamental. That night, I waited for Michael to fall asleep and called Liz into the kitchen. I tried to be gentle. "Liz, Mr. Albright has family in Knoxville. He mentioned that the St. Clara's orphanage closed a long time ago, ... I was expecting a simple explanation. Maybe I had misunderstood the name. Instead, Liz's pale face turned bright red. Her lips trembled. And then, to my horror, she began to cry. Not a loud cry, but silent, desperate sobs that shook her thin body. "I knew it," she whispered. "I knew you'd find out. No one ever trusts me." "Liz, I didn't. It's true. The home closed," she said, tears streaming. I wasn't raised there. I was abandoned there. When it closed, they sent me somewhere else. A horrible place. I only say St. Clara's because ... because it was the last place I wasn't beaten every day. I lied about the time. I'm so sorry." She cringed, like an animal expecting a blow. "You're going to fire me, aren't you? You're going to throw me on the street. I have nowhere to go." In that moment, I didn't see a liar. I saw a broken girl, a scared orphan, and I felt like a monster. I felt like the church ladies, judging someone who'd had a harder life than mine. "No, Liz," I said, rushing to hug her. She was stiff, but I held her. "No, of course not. I'm sorry for asking. I'm the one who should be sorry. It's okay. You're safe here. She sniffled and looked at me with those big, sad eyes, now filled with a gratitude that seemed almost like adoration. Thank you, Mrs. Sarah. You're the only good person I've ever known. I would do anything for you. And for Michael. 2 weeks later, she told me the cheap boarding house where she lived had raised the rent and she couldn't pay. Feeling guilty about my previous suspicion, I insisted, Liz, absolutely not. You'll stay here. We have the small room in the back. You won't be a bother. On the contrary, you'll be a help. She moved in the next day. And that's how I, out of pity, out of guilt, and out of sheer exhaustion, opened the door to my house and placed my son in the hands of the woman who was planning to destroy my life. The trust she had built was a house of cards. And when she took him, that Sunday, January 15th, she didn't just take my son. She took my sanity, my reputation, and my faith in human kindness. And what followed was a nightmare that would last 40 years. The sound of my own voice, screaming Michael's name in the street, is a memory my brain tries to erase. It was a sound that didn't belong to me. Neighbors came out onto their porches. Mr. Henderson, whom I had always accused of being nosy, was the first to act. He didn't say anything. He just went inside and called the police. Others approached, forming a semicircle on my sidewalk, as if looking at a wounded animal on the road. No one touched me. No one hugged me. They just ... stared. When the police car arrived, its blue lights flashing and cutting through the afternoon sun, I felt a drop of relief. They would find him. The police find lost children. 2 men got out. A younger one, Officer Riley, with a face that seemed kind. The other, older, tired, with deep circles under his eyes and a rumpled jacket. He was Detective Harris. Mrs. Thompson asked Harris, taking out a notepad. We received a call about a missing child. She took him, I yelled, grabbing his shirt sleeve. The nanny, Liz. She took my Michael. She said she was going to give him a bath, and she disappeared. Officer Riley gently guided me inside the house. Ma'am, please, sit down, breathe. We need details. I sat on the edge of my own sofa, but my body was shaking so much that the objects on the coffee table rattled. Her name, said Harris, his pen hovering over the pad. Full name, Elizabeth Vance. Liz. She came from Knoxville. Sister Margaret, from the church, recommended her. Elizabeth Vance, he repeated, writing, age 24, I think. She seemed young, but sad. Description: thin, brown hair, straight, wore simple dresses. She was quiet. Harris looked at me, for the first time, with something other than boredom. It was impatience. Mrs. Thompson, that describes half the women in this town. We need more. Eye color, height, any scars, and most importantly, a photo. A photo. My blood ran cold. Back then, in 1983, we didn't take pictures of everything. Photos were for birthdays, for Christmas. I had photos of Michael, of course, precious ones, but of Liz, I don't have one, I whispered. She didn't like it, said it was vanity. She's in the background of a photo from Michael's baptism, but she's blurry. Detective Harris and Officer Riley looked at each other. It was a quick glance, but I saw it. It was the first drop of doubt. Right, said Harris, his tone changing from investigative to condescending. And the boy, Michael, 7 months. Any birthmarks? No, I replied, trying to think. He's perfect. He has his father's smile and his nose. And he smells like Johnson's baby powder and warm milk. ... I started to sob again, realizing that his smell was already fading from the house. Harris went to Liz's room. He looked at the empty closet, the empty drawers. She cleaned the place out. No personal belongings left behind. No clear fingerprints, except in the kitchen, where she worked. He went to Michael's room. He touched the empty crib with the tip of his pen. And the child's father, Mrs. Thompson. Where is he? Mark. He's not in the picture, I stammered. He's a trucker. He left before Michael was born, so he didn't know about the child. Harris pressed. He knew, but he didn't want him. Harris wrote something down. Slowly, a single mother, an absent father, and a phantom nanny. Great. They went to speak with Sister Margaret at the church. They came back 2 hours later. The sun was already setting, and the house, once filled with the sounds of a baby, was deadly silent. "Mrs. Thompson," said Harris, and now all the kindness was gone from his voice. "We have a problem. Did you find her?" I asked, standing up. "No, we spoke with Sister Margaret. She confirmed she brought a Liz here, but the church has no record of her. She showed up one day, asking for food, saying she came from that orphanage in Knoxville. They let her help in the kitchen for a few weeks out of charity. There are no documents, no address. The name Elizabeth Vance is probably as real as her angel's hands." He was right. That alarm that had gone off in my head about the orphanage lied. I had ignored it. I had felt guilty and let her in. "They've issued an alert," said Officer Riley, more gently, "to the neighboring states. Tennessee, Georgia. If she gets on a bus, maybe they'll find her." But in the following days, no one was found. And the focus of the investigation changed. For days after the disappearance, Detective Harris returned, alone. "Sarah," he said, using my first name, which made me tremble. "I've been thinking. It's very strange. A woman with a 7-month-old baby doesn't just vanish into thin air. Someone would have seen her. The bus driver, a taxi driver, a neighbor. Nobody saw anything. She must have planned it," I said, my voice hoarse from crying. "Or," said Harris, sitting in my armchair without being invited, "maybe there was no nanny at all." It took me a second to understand. The air left my lungs. What? You're a woman alone. A baby that cries. A father who abandoned you. That's a lot of pressure. A lot. I looked at him, horrified. "What are you insinuating?" "I'm not insinuating anything. I'm exploring possibilities," he said coldly. "Sometimes, mothers ... they break. Sometimes, accidents happen. A baby falls, a baby stops breathing, and panic sets in. It would be easier to invent a story about a mysterious nanny than to face the consequences, wouldn't it?" I stood up. "Get out, Sarah ... Get out of my house," I screamed, pointing to the door. "You should be looking for my son, not accusing me of ... I couldn't even say the word. Harris stood, adjusting his jacket. "As you wish, Mrs. Thompson. But think about it. If you tell us the truth now, a judge might be more understanding." He left. And in that moment, I understood. I was no longer a victim. I was the prime suspect. The news spread through Asheville like wildfire. The police had no leads on the nanny, so the only story left was that of the unstable single mother. The following Saturday, the Asheville Chronicle ran the story on the front page. It wasn't a picture of Michael. It was a picture of my house, with a grim caption, "Missing baby mystery. Police investigate mother." It was the end. People didn't whisper anymore. They spoke openly. When I went to the pharmacy to buy aspirin, Mr. Albright was kind, but the other customers moved away from me in the aisle. At the supermarket, I saw 2 women I knew from church. When I approached, they stopped talking, gave me a weak, pitiful smile, and pushed their carts in the other direction. "She sold him," I heard one say to the other, thinking I couldn't hear. "She definitely sold the baby to the father, or something, and now she's faking it." I became a pariah, the crazy lady with the empty cradle. The police stopped calling me with updates. Officer Riley came by one last time, unofficially, to bring me a pamphlet on grief support groups. Grief. They thought my son was dead, and that I was the one to blame. The official search for Michael lasted less than 2 weeks. My search ... My search was just beginning. And I would have to do it alone, surrounded by neighbors who looked at me like a murderer, in a town that had already condemned me. The transformation from victim to suspect is complete, establishing Sarah's loneliness for the coming decades. The first few years were the worst, or maybe they were just the loudest. In the first few months, I still expected her to come back. I fantasized that Liz was just a disturbed young woman, that she would feel remorse and leave Michael on some church doorstep, and the police would find him. I left the porch light on every night. I slept on the living room sofa, afraid that if I slept in my room, I wouldn't hear the knock on the door. But the door never knocked. I went back to work at Mr. Albright's pharmacy. I needed the money, but more than that, I needed a place to go, so I wouldn't be staring at that empty crib all day. Going back was a silent torture. I became a morbid attraction in Asheville. People came into the pharmacy not to buy medicine, but to see me. They would look at me, trying to find the guilt or the madness in my eyes. I learned to smile, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. I learned to bag prescriptions with steady hands, even though inside I was disintegrating. Over time, the direct suspicion faded, but it was replaced by something worse: pity. That condescending pity that people reserve for lost causes. I became poor Sarah. My house became my prison and my sanctuary, especially Michael's room. I never changed a thing. To this day, if you go in there, the Planet Mobile still hangs over the crib. The teddy bear sheet, which I washed 1,000 times to smell his last scent, is still stretched tight. On the dresser rests the small container of Johnson's baby powder, half used. The little blue plastic tub is still in the corner, waiting for a bath that never happened. His room became a museum for a baby who never grew up. I kept everything: the clothes she left behind, the red rattle he loved that made a soft sound, the brown teddy bear he hugged to sleep. For the first 10 years, I went into that room every day and dusted. I talked to the teddy bear. "Where are you, my love? Are you cold? Are you hungry? Do you still remember me?" I sounded crazy. I know. Maybe I was. But it was the only way to keep him alive. The years passed. 1983 turned into 1990. 1990 turned into 2000. I grew old. My brown hair turned gray, then completely white. My hands, which once held a baby, became spotted and wrinkled. Asheville changed. Mr. Albright's pharmacy closed, giving way to a large, impersonal chain. Detective Harris retired. I heard he died playing golf. Sister Margaret passed away. The city grew, full of tourists and craft breweries. The missing baby story became a local urban legend, something the old-timers told to scare the young ones. But for me, it was still yesterday. I never gave up looking. In the 90s, before the internet dominated everything, I spent what little money I had on third-rate private detectives who took my savings and gave me useless reports. I wrote to TV shows, the ones that featured cold cases. I received a few polite rejection letters, but no one took my case. A phantom nanny, no photo, no real last name. There was nowhere to start. Hope is a cruel thing. It keeps you alive, but it also stops you from moving on. Twice, my heart nearly exploded. The first time was in 1998. I received an anonymous call. A woman, with a hoarse voice, said she knew a Liz who fit the description, living in a trailer park in Alabama with a rebellious teenager named Mike. I sold my mother's old car. I took a bus that took 2 days. I got there, found the trailer park. The woman existed. But Mike was 15, with bright blue eyes and reddish blonde hair. My Michael had my eyes, brown and deep. I cried the whole way back to North Carolina. The second time was in 2007. With the internet, I spent nights at the public library, typing Elizabeth Vance or Michael missing 1983 in every possible combination. I found a forum for missing people. A man posted that he was looking for his biological mother, who had left him at a church in Knoxville around 1983. My world stopped. Knoxville, the place Liz said she was from. I contacted him. We exchanged emails for a week. The date matched. The story made sense. He could have been left there by Liz, full of regret. We did a DNA test by mail. I waited the 3 weeks for the result with the phone in my hand, without eating, without sleeping. When the result came, it was negative. I didn't cry. I don't think I had any tears left. I just shut down the computer, went home, went into Michael's room, sat in the rocking chair, and stayed there until the sun came up. I stopped actively searching after that. I was almost 70. The world was too fast, too technological. I was tired. I retired. I began to accept the grief that everyone had wanted me to accept in 1983. The grief for a son who, in my mind, would always be 7 months old. Until yesterday. Yesterday, October 22nd, 2023. 40 years later. I was in my living room, folding clean laundry, a habit I never lost from that fateful day. The TV was on some channel, one of those afternoon shows that tell human interest stories. I was barely paying attention, until I heard a man's voice say, ... and my mother, before she passed away from cancer last month, made a confession. She told me I wasn't her son. I stopped folding the sock. I looked up. The camera focused on a man. He must have been about 40. He had brown hair, with gray at the temples. He had a kind face, but his eyes... I dropped the sock. They were my eyes. My name is Daniel Miller, the man said to the reporter. I grew up in Boulder, Colorado. My mother, Mary Beth Miller, raised me alone. She was a wonderful woman, but she was always private about the past. What was the confession, Daniel? Asked the reporter. She said that, in 1983, she was working as a nanny in a small mountain town. She said she saved a baby from a mother who didn't want him. She said my real name wasn't Daniel. It was ... Michael. My heart stopped. No, it didn't stop. It beat. It beat for the first time in 40 years. The reporter asked, "Did she tell you the name of the city?" The man, Daniel, my Michael, looked directly into the camera, and I felt as if he was looking at me, across time and distance. "Yes," he said. "She said she took me from a town called Asheville in North Carolina." The laundry basket fell from my hands. I couldn't breathe. The air had been sucked out of the room, sucked out of me, sucked out of the last 40 years. Michael, he was alive. He was a man, and he had my eyes. My hands were shaking so much I couldn't pick up the phone on the first try. On the second, I almost dropped it. I dialed the number of my niece, Jessica. She's my younger sister's daughter, who passed away a decade ago. Jessica is all I have left. Aunt Sarah, is everything okay? You don't usually call at this hour. Turn on the television was all I could manage. Channel 8, the afternoon show. Quick, Jessica. For the love of God, I heard the sound of her TV in the background. What am I looking for, Auntie? A man. His name is Daniel Miller, from Boulder, Colorado. He... My voice failed. Jessica, it's him. It's Michael. I know it's him. There was a silence on the other end of the line. The silence of pity. The same silence I had been hearing for 40 years. "Oh, Aunt Sarah, ... double quotes," she began. In that gentle voice one uses for the confused elderly. "Are you sure? Remember that time in Alabama, ... double quotes," he said. "Asheville," I screamed, with a strength I didn't know I had. He said his name was Michael. He has my eyes, Jessica. Don't treat me like a crazy woman. Not you. My tone startled her. "Okay, Auntie. Okay, I see him. My God, he really does look like Grandpa," I cried with relief. Someone believed me. Jessica is a modern woman. She understands the internet, social media. While I paced circles in my living room, clutching Michael's brown teddy bear, she was on her computer. "I found it, Auntie. The TV station. They have a form for related stories. I'm filling it out. I'm telling them everything. I'm sending the copy of the 1983 police report. I'm sending your number." "He won't call," I muttered, despair returning. Why would he call? To him, I'm the mother who abandoned him. The mother who didn't want him. "Let's pray he wants to hear the other side," Jessica said. I didn't sleep. How could I? I spent the whole night in the rocking chair, in Michael's room, looking at the empty crib and praying. Praying to a God I barely believed in anymore. The phone rang at 10 a.m. the next morning. My heart leaped into my chest so hard it hurt. I answered on the first ring. "Hello? Hello? I'm looking for a Mrs. Sarah Thompson." The voice. It was his voice, deeper than I ever imagined, but it was there. The cadence. It was him. "This is she," I whispered. "I'm Sarah." There was a long, heavy pause. I could hear him breathing on the other end. "Ma'am, my name is Daniel Miller. I don't know if this is some kind of cruel prank, but a TV station gave me your contact information. You, ... You claim to be my mother?" The word sounded strange, clinical. I don't know what to say," he continued, his voice tense. "My mother, Mary Beth, the woman who raised me, she loved me. She said my biological mother was young, unstable, and left me on a church doorstep. She said she rescued me. She lied," I said, the words tearing through my throat. "Her name wasn't Mary Beth. It was Elizabeth Vance, Liz, and she didn't rescue you. She stole you. She stole you from me." "How can I believe that?" he asked, his voice breaking a little. "I loved this woman for 40 years. She was my mother. And I've looked for you for 40 years, I replied, tears streaming down my wrinkled face. "I never abandoned you, Michael. I don't even call you Daniel. Your name is Michael. I went to hang laundry in the yard. She said she was going to give you a quick bath. She took your clothes. She took your birth certificate. She took my life." Silence. A silence so long, I thought he had hung up. "Michael," I said, desperate, "please. I have your room. It's intact, just the way you left it. The Planet Mobile, the teddy bear sheets. And she left one thing behind. Your brown teddy bear? He slept with me for 10 years until I couldn't smell you on him anymore." More silence. And then I heard a sound, a muffled sob. "My God," he whispered. "The brown bear. You remember?" I asked, gripping the phone. "No," he said, his voice thick. "I don't remember. But my mother, she always told me I was terrified of brown bears when I was little. She never understood why. Said I would cry as if I had lost something." We both cried on the phone. An 81-year-old mother and a 40-year-old man, strangers united by the most intimate of crimes. "I need to know," he said, after a while. "I need to be sure. I'm getting the first flight to Asheville. We need to do a DNA test, today." 2 days later, I was sitting in the lobby of a hotel downtown. Jessica was with me, holding my hand. He came through the revolving door. Seeing someone on TV is one thing, seeing him in person is another. He was taller than I imagined, and he walked with the same slight forward lean that my father used to have. When our eyes met across the lobby, the world stopped. He approached, his face pale, his eyes identical to mine, red with exhaustion and confusion. "Sarah," he said. I stood up. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to smell his hair, check if he was healthy. I wanted to do all the things a mother does. But I held back. I just nodded. "Michael, we went to a lab. The process was fast, clinical. A swab in my cheek, one in his. The result will be ready in 24 hours, said the nurse. The wait was the worst part. Worse than the 40 years. Because in those 40 years, there was a vague hope. In these 24 hours, there was a definitive answer. Either glory or the end of everything. He called me the next day. The result is in. It's in my email. I can't open it alone. Can I come to your house? My house. An hour later, he was standing in my living room. The same room where he had crawled, where Liz had held him for the last time. He sat on my sofa. He opened his laptop. His fingers hovered over the mouse. I'm scared, Sarah. Me too, I answered. He clicked. The PDF document opened. Lines and lines of scientific terms. But at the bottom, in bold, was the answer. Probability of maternity. 99.9999% Daniel ... Michael. Stared at the screen. He didn't say anything. He just stared, as if trying to translate that percentage into a lifetime of lies. Then, he slowly raised his eyes to me. Tears were running freely down his face. Mom, he whispered. It was the word I had waited 40 years to hear. I knelt in front of him, my old body protesting, and held his face between my hands. My son, my baby. You came back. He hugged me right there, on the floor of my living room. A strong, desperate hug. A hug from a 40-year-old man who, in that moment, was just a 7-month-old boy who had finally found his way home. She raised me well, Mom, he cried into my shoulder. She loved me, but she lied to me every single day. I know, I said, stroking his hair. I know. After a long time, I helped him stand up. Come, I said, taking his hand. There's something I need to show you. I led him down the hall. I opened the door to Michael's room. He stopped at the doorway, dumbfounded. He looked at the crib, at the Planet Mobile, at the dresser with the baby powder. It's all here, he said, in disbelief. I never lost hope, I said. He walked into the room, slowly, as if stepping on holy ground. He touched the mobile, making the planet spin for the first time in decades. Then, he saw the brown teddy bear, sitting in the rocking chair. He picked it up. His large fingers traced the worn fur, the button eye that was missing. I feel, I feel strange, he said. Like I know this place, like I know this bear. It's your home, Michael. It always has been. That night, I met my daughter, La Sophia, and my 2 grandchildren, Liam and Ava, over a video call. 2 beautiful children who had my eyes. The pain of 40 years didn't disappear. No, a wound like that never fully closes. But the grief for my living son, that finally was over. My name is Sarah Thompson. And after 40 years of living like a ghost, my son brought me back to life. Sarah and Michael's story proves that even after 40 years of darkness, hope can find its way back home. If this story touched your heart and made you believe in the impossible, help us spread this message. Leave your like so that YouTube will show this story to more people. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any emotional narratives like this one. And we want to know, what city are you watching this journey from? Comment the name of your city below. We love to see how far our stories reach. Thank you for watching. Explore our other videos, and until the next story,